A very good day, everyone. My name is Nurul Balqis Ahmad Zakaria. I'm from General Studies Department, Politeknik Dickson, and today I will be presenting my paper, which is Students' Evaluation of an Educational Card Game as a Supplementary Tool for Developing Group Discussion Skills. And today my presentation will be divided into 5 sections, which are Introduction, Literature Review, Methodology, Results, and also Conclusions. In recent years, educational games have become increasingly recognized as powerful tools in modern pedagogy. They are not just about fun and engagement, but they also serve to enhance learning by fostering active participation, critical thinking, and also collaboration among students. And one crucial area that benefits from such innovative methods is the teaching and learning of group discussion skills. So, group discussion skills are important not only for academic success, but also in professional environments where communication, teamwork, and problem solving are essential. However, students in Malaysian polytechnics often face challenges in carrying out a group discussion successfully. In the course Communicative English 1, taken by all Semester 1 students, they are taught the skills of group discussion, and to measure their understanding and acquisition of the skills, they have to conduct a group discussion which carries 20% of their marks. And many of these students are low to intermediate in terms of their English proficiency. And with only 12 hours allocated to conduct lectures, practice sessions, and assessing the students, time limitation is also an issue. Other than that, students' lack of exposure to a group discussion environment and lack of confidence to speak English are additional factors that demotivate them to participate in practice sessions. So given these challenges, there is a clear need for innovative and learner-centered approach to support the group discussion skills development. And one promising strategy is game-based learning, which can offer a structured yet enjoyable platform for students to practice speaking and collaboration. So this study focuses on an innovative educational card game which is called Bincang. It's a game designed to enhance group discussion skills. And the research objectives are to evaluate student satisfaction with the game's designs, goals and playability, and also to examine its impact on collaboration, communication skills, and confidence. So based on the research objectives, the research questions are, how do students evaluate the card game's design, goals, and playability? And research question 2 is, how does the game contribute to their collaboration, communication skills, and confidence? And next, I will move on to the second part of this presentation, which is the literature review. So first, I have compiled some reviews, some literature that supports the importance and benefits of group discussion skills. Okay, group discussion has long been recognized as a valuable pedagogical approach. According to research by Asgawanti, Situmyang, and Priyatna 2025, it fosters a collaborative learning environment where students interact, share ideas, and provide peer feedback. And this promotes active participation and helps students to build confidence. Another research by Agrawa, Mehra, and Mehta 2025 highlights that group discussion enhances not only learning retention and conceptual application, but also communication skills, attention span, and knowledge recall. Moreover, collaborative discussion leads to more effective problem solving and critical thinking compared to working individually, as emphasized by Slavin 1995. And also another study by Bransford, Brown, and Cocking 2000 showed that structured group interactions have also been shown to improve academic outcomes and analytical abilities. Beyond the classroom, group discussions are also valued in the workplace, particularly in job selection processes, as a group discussion can be used to assess a candidate's communication, content knowledge, group behavior, and also leadership qualities. And this is based on a study by Nagaratinam and Lakshmanan 2016. The second part of my literature review is on the challenges in teaching and learning group discussion skills. So despite the benefit that were mentioned just now, to teach group discussion skills is quite challenging because it requires the integration of several competencies such as collaboration, critical thinking, language proficiency, and also interpersonal skills. For students with low to intermediate English proficiency, several barriers exist. Sub and IDU 2025 point out challenges such as large class sizes, exam-oriented teaching, reluctance to speak English, and the difficulty of real-time language processing. And then there are also psychological factors which are critical. And there are several studies that mention factors such as low confidence, poor motivation, anxiety, shyness, and self-consciousness. And these are some of the factors that can severely limit participation from students. Besides that, there are also numerous Malaysian-based studies which further highlight students' negative attitudes towards speaking English, such as discomfort, insufficient language competence, and also lack of content knowledge. And now I would like to highlight some research that have utilized educational card games in various learning contexts. So card games have been effective in subjects like biology, which is a study done by Gutierrez 2014, to teach mathematics from a study by Wahyudi and Witanto 2025, and also physiology, a study by Rajashekar and Belat 2016. So students consistently report high engagement, enjoyment, and improved understanding, particularly through the discussions that these games promote. However, for this research, the card games were used to activate discussion among participants for the purpose of content acquisition, rather than the explicit teaching of group discussion skills. So, I would also like to highlight educational card games in the context of English teaching and learning. Okay, so in the teaching and learning of English, the use of card games were also found to be a promising solution. They are cost-effective, easy to implement, and encourage active peer learning. Research shows that card games can enhance vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structure in English learning. And their benefits also include increased engagement, reduced anxiety, and better retention and pronunciation. Many studies report positive students' perception and notable improvements in both language and subject-specific performance. However, there is limited research on the use of card games specifically for developing group discussion skills. So this highlights a gap that this study seeks to fill. And as for theoretical framework, this study is informed by several theoretical perspectives, such as Vygotsky's social development theory, which emphasized that learning is social and occurs through interaction within the zone of proximal development. Another one is constructivist theory, as proposed by Piaget and Brunner, which suggests that learners build understanding through experience and meaningful interaction. And also Cope's experiential learning theory, which supports the idea that learning is a cycle of concrete experience, reflection, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation, aligning closely with both game-based learning and also group discussions. So to summarize my literature review, while group discussion is essential and educational card games have shown positive outcomes in various areas, there is still a notable lack of research on their use to specifically develop group discussion skills. So this study aims to address that gap by exploring students' perceptions using a card game as a supplementary tool for enhancing group discussion skills. The next section is methodology, and for the research design, this research adopted a mixed method approach, combining both quantitative and qualitative data. The goal was to comprehensively understand students' perception of an educational card game and its effectiveness in enhancing group discussion skills. And the quantitative data were collected through a 25-item Likert skill survey, while the qualitative data were gathered through semi-structured group interviews. And this combination allowed for both measurable outcomes and in-depth exploration of the students' experience. The participants were 76 Semester 1 Diploma in Accountancy students from Malaysian Politeknik. They were between the ages of 18 to 19, with low to intermediate English proficiency based on their SPM English result. Purposive sampling was used to select participants who were most relevant to the research objectives to ensure that the findings would be meaningful and directly applicable to the target learner group. The study was conducted in a Polytechnic classroom setting as part of the Communicative English 1 course. It spanned 4 weeks, totaling approximately 12 instructional hours. And the learning format combined guided instruction with game-based practice session using the Bincang educational card game. 2 main instruments were used, and first, it's the survey questionnaire adapted from Gutierrez 2014. It contained 25 items measured on a 5-point Likert scale, ranging from 1, strongly disagree, to 5, strongly agree. And the survey covered 5 categories, which are goals and objectives, card design, components and organization, playability and engagement, and also usefulness. The instrument was content validated by 2 English lecturers and pilot tested to ensure clarity and internal consistency. And for the semi-structured group interviews, they were conducted to gather richer data, and they were designed around the themes of the survey, and they were peer-reviewed for clarity and relevance. The data collection was carried out in 6 phases. Phase 1 is where students receive introductory lessons on group discussion skills. Phase 2, they participated in an initial practice session and reflection to establish a baseline. Phase 3, students were introduced to the Bincang game, including its rules and objectives. Phase 4, they engaged in 4 game-based practice sessions in small groups, during which their engagement was observed. Phase 5, after the final session, students completed the post-intervention survey. And Phase 6 is semi-structured interviews that were held after their formal group discussion assessments. For the data analysis, the quantitative analysis uses descriptive statistics, specifically the mean and standard deviation. The data were analyzed by survey categories to assess both satisfaction and also the perceived effectiveness. For the qualitative data, a thematic analysis was conducted following the steps outlined by Brown and Clark 2006. And this dual approach allowed the qualitative findings to triangulate and enrich the survey results, providing a more comprehensive understanding of the students' experience. For the results, across all 5 evaluated dimensions, students expressed high levels of agreement, indicating strong satisfaction with the card game. For the category of card design, it received the highest mean score at 4.56, reflecting appreciation for its visual and functional appeal. For the category of usefulness, it's second highest with a mean value of 4.51, further supporting its perceived value in developing discussion skills. And for goals and objectives category, the mean score was 4.48, showing that students recognized the game's clear purpose and its ability to guide their discussions. The scores for components and organization received a mean score of 4.44, and playability is 4.36. These scores were also positive, but also showing that there are potential areas for improvement. So these scores suggest that students found Bincang to be both well-designed and educationally effective. And to tie this with my research question 1, evaluation of design, goal, and playability, as mentioned just now, goals and objectives scored 4.61 with a low standard deviation, indicating that most students agreed the game encouraged interaction and turn-taking. In terms of card design, students appreciated its size, portability, durability, and the relevance of the content on the cards, reflected in consistently low standard deviations, which was 0.47 to 0.48, suggesting agreement across participants. And for components and organization category, they were generally rated positively, especially for including useful language phrases. However, rule clarity stood out with the lowest mean score, which is 4.24, and highest variability, 0.91. And interviews also confirmed this, as some students found the role switching rules difficult to remember. And one improvement suggested was to provide visual aids or to simplify the instructions for roles. As for playability, students found the game cooperative and fair, but its flexibility received the lowest individual item score with a mean of 4.07. Despite this, the game was still seen as enjoyable and inclusive. And to address research question 2, in terms of contribution to collaboration, communication, and confidence, the usefulness category dimension scored 4.51 with particularly high ratings for discussion organization, which has a mean of 4.63, and willingness to recommend the game to others with a mean of 4.61. And the low standard deviation, they are all below 0.7 across these items, indicate consistent agreement among the students. And qualitative insights from the interviews also enrich these results because students describe feeling excited. They use the word excited, calm, and more confident during discussions. And they noted that the game helped them to share and evaluate ideas more effectively. One quote from an interviewee stated that having the disagree card challenges me to think of a possible downside of my group member's idea, which gets us talking more. So this reflects increased critical thinking and communication confidence, 2 key skills that the game aimed to enhance. So to summarize my findings, students perceive the Bincang game as a well-designed, goal-oriented, and engaging tool, and it effectively promotes collaboration, communication, and confidence during group discussions. But there are areas for improvement, such as enhancing the clarity of the rules, especially around the role switching mechanics, and introducing more flexible gameplay options. Overall, the findings provide strong support for using educational card games like Bincang as supplementary tools to develop group discussion skills in the English language classrooms. So, to conclude, the results from this study indicate an overall positive student perception of the Bincang card game as a tool for enhancing group discussion skills. The card design dimension received the highest rating, where students appreciated its practical features such as size, durability, and also content relevance. The playability received the lowest mean score, but it was still a positive mean at 4.36. The game was considered enjoyable, but students pointed out areas for improvement in rules, clarity, and game flexibility. Importantly, the game was perceived to effectively support structured discussions, reinforce useful language expression, and promote collaboration, which were central goals of the intervention. And these findings are supported by the relevant learning theories such as Slavin's cooperative learning theory, which emphasized teamwork and shared learning experience. And it also reflects principles from Brentford's 2000, who advocate for active, social, and learner-centered engagement in the learning process. Together, these frameworks reinforce the pedagogical value of using interactive, game-based approaches in language classrooms. So, as recommendations, future studies can expand on this work in several ways, such as conducting pre- and post-intervention studies to measure actual improvements in students' communication and discussion skills. And researchers could also explore how different levels of English proficiency influence students' interaction with the games and their learning outcomes. And to close this presentation, Bincang demonstrates strong potential as a motivating and practical supplementary tool for language education, and it adds to the growing body of evidence supporting game-based learning as an effective student-centered strategy, especially in developing communication skills that are essential for both academic and workplace success. That's all from me. Thank you very much.